Okay, so your bell ringer was to list 5 issues in the area of biology that you believe are important in the world today. What did we get? Yell a few out. Global warming, good one. Pollution, good. Endangered species, perfect. Deforestation, urban sprawl, what else is there? Lack of recycling, okay, so we have landfills, things like that. Dirty energy, we have carbon emissions, right? Greenhouse gases, yes. What? Desertification, yeah, where you turn basically farmland into desert, okay, or forest to farmland to desert. Okay, that works. So today, to talk about what we are going to talk about, and you did these keys, and you'll find I always just talk about the keys real quick before we start. They're called learning goals. That's probably what some of your other teachers call them. I just call them keys because that's what your book and your text calls them. I don't like to rename things and give them different names. That way you know where to find everything we're talking about. So your key ideas. We're going to look at how someone practices scientific thought, what universal laws are in science and what they are compared to a theory, how ethics apply to science, and why should someone who is not planning on becoming a scientist study science. And that might be the number one question: when am I going to use this, right? Well, you're all going to vote someday, and I like people who are voting on the air I breathe, the water I drink, the food I eat, and decisions that are being made. I like the voters who are making decisions on these things to be educated. And so that is actually why I became a biology teacher. People ask me, I say, because I don't like ignorant people voting for my air quality, my water quality, and my food quality, right? So we all need to be smart there so we're healthy people. That's why I teach biology, really, and that's why we should all care about what we're going to be talking about in this class. But to get things started, we always have to review that famous scientific method. And in order to do the scientific method, you have to think scientifically. Now, if you have your notes in front of you, which you all should, you just fill out your bell ringer. This is what you should be filling out as we go along. Okay, and there is a random word every now and then left blank to ensure you are following along and taking notes. Now, scientific thought involves making observations, using evidence to draw conclusions, being skeptical about ideas, and being open to change when new discoveries are made. So these are the 4 basic principles of what go into thinking scientifically. Now, scientists carefully observe the world and then ask questions about what they observed. Do you guys make observations every day? Yeah. You wake up, and when it's light, if you don't wake up just because your body tells you to, if it gets light out, your body wakes up. Your body observed it was light, it's time to wake up. If you smell something, you're observing it. What are the other ones? So I talked about seeing, smelling, hearing, feeling, and tasting. Okay, so you're going to use your 5 senses, not your 6th sense. That's nonsense. You know where the word nonsense came from? Non-science. Okay, so if something is non-science, we call it nonsense in here, right? Okay, kind of a joke, but not really. Oh, my thing doesn't want to work. Okay. Scientific thought requires what is called skepticism, and that is one of your vocab words. You probably noticed that if you started your vocabulary. And skepticism is a habit of mind in which a person questions the validity of accepted ideas. And we can all be happy that we're in America where skepticism is not an illegal thing, right? Are there places in the world where being skeptical can get you put in prison? Yeah. Are there areas of the world that it can get you killed? Yeah. Okay. In China, if you're skeptical of the government, guess what they do? Well, they don't go as far as to kill you, but they will put you in prison, especially if you publicly speak out against them. How about, when could it get you killed? How about maybe in, like, Iraq? Okay. If you're questioning, let's say, the religion or the organization over there, could that get you killed? For sure, stoned, killed, yes. Okay, so being skeptical, is that always something that we have been able to do, even in America? Not always, but we live in a beautiful free country, and we can practice scientific thought here and be skeptical, and it's okay. We don't offend anybody by doing it. This is how progress is made. We see things we don't agree with and we question them. Or we see things that don't make sense and we question them. Okay? There was a day and time when a gentleman called Galileo looked up and saw the moons of Jupiter and said, those are going around another planet, not us. And that would make Earth not the center of what? The universe, which it's not. Okay? He noticed that, hey, we're all going around this thing called the sun that comes up every day and down, and it's not going up and around us, we're going around it. And by doing this, did he kind of butt heads with a lot of beliefs as far as religion and things like that of the day? For sure. And they put him on house arrest and deemed him crazy because of it. So being skeptical, just keep in mind, is something that we take for granted almost, being where we're from. Now, scientific discoveries can change the way people view the world. And just thinking about Galileo, did he change the way we view our world? For sure he did. Okay? And he made it okay for people to be skeptical because he was in fact right. So science is governed by truths that are valid everywhere in the universe, and these truths are what are called universal laws. Now, there are laws and there are theories. Laws, they hold true wherever you are in the universe. And when I say universe, I mean even outside of our own solar system, they hold true in order to be a law. That's why we call them universal laws. Gravity. Is that a law or is that a theory? That's a law. If I drop something, it hits the ground. Okay? Gravity. Can't argue with that. Can I directly observe it? Yes. So if you can directly observe something, it is a universal law. If you have to prove it with scientific theory and thought, is it a law? No, then it's something else. It's called a theory, and we'll get into that. Now, though branches of science address different aspects of the natural world, universal laws apply to all branches of science and every person. Okay? Which means that it doesn't matter if you're in chemistry, physics, biology, math, astronomy, these laws will hold true and they will not change. Okay? They're constants. You guys had physical science last year, right? Newton had a few of these, right? Boyle's law, Newton's laws. How many laws are there for Mr. Newton? 3 Newton's laws. I won't ask you to recite them. I'll get them out of order. And I know them, but I would put them in a different order. I know I would. Okay. So this leads to ethics, because science is great, except it has to have some boundaries, right? Otherwise, you know, if I wanted to do, let's say, testing on HIV, I could give 100 people HIV and experiment on them, right? Does that sound like it would be something I'd get away with? No. Okay? So we have to have ethics in science. We can't just have free reign to do whatever we will. Okay? So ethics are a system of moral principles and values. Do we all have morals and principles in here? Yes. Now some people say, oh, you know, so-and-so is not moral. Well, he or she has his own morals. Okay? We all have a set of beliefs of what we think is right and what we think is wrong. Are they always the same? No. Are there controversial issues in science? Yeah. I could talk about climate change. I could talk about stem cell research. I could talk about, what else you guys brought a bunch of them up. Endangered species, deforestation, is that okay? All of those controversial issues, some people might think are great, some might think are terrible or immoral. Now, that's fine, and I know we all, you know, won't come to agreement on anything. If I want to prove that, I'll just ask you if you think chocolate is the tastiest flavor of ice cream. You would all say? No. I would say yes. So would we ever get to an agreement on an ethic or a moral if we got really specific, other than you cannot kill somebody? Probably not, right? We'd be splitting hairs all the time. So we all have our own set of values and beliefs. As a country, though, when we vote, do we come to consensus? Yes. Whether we all agree or not, we agree to be civil and to agree on a set of beliefs or norms. And that's what regulates science, okay? Is basically our politicians that we vote into office who say this is right, this is wrong. You cannot drill in a federal park in Alaska. That's the way our law reads right now. Could that change with another politician? Yes. And so we vote. Okay? That's one really controversial issue right now that I just brought up because I know that that's in the news. What else? What else is something that could change next year? We had a president for 8 years didn't allow stem cell research. That was George Bush. New president does. So all of a sudden we have new opportunities in science in different companies. Okay, whereas in the past they weren't able to be here. So I'm not talking about whether or not I support that or don't, but I'm saying, do our ethics change as to who we vote into office? For sure they do. Okay, and they affect science too. Now, scientific experimentation and discovery can have serious ethical implications. Because of this, scientific investigation require ethical behavior. So I don't get to just go test on people. I talked about that, right? What do we test on first? Animals. And do we go straight to animals? Do we go straight to mammals or primates? Do we test on chimpanzees first? No. What do we test on first? Mice and rats. Okay? So there is a protocol that is gone through in even experimentations. Now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong to test on animals. I'm just saying there is standard protocol. You start at the cellular level, and then you go to a very simple mammal like a rat or a mouse, because people, it's not too controversial, usually I should say, to test on those. But then primates, because they're so similar to us, and we have such an affinity or affection towards them, gets real controversial, right, when we test on those. And so my cats that I dissect in anatomy, I talk about them a little bit, but I use them because it's the least controversial way and most ethical way to use a mammal in my class, because it's been humanely euthanized by a humane society, and it would just be thrown away or buried or put in a landfill if I didn't use it in my class. So I even have my own set of ethics I have to follow when buying specimens for the class. I can't just order 30 humans and have them delivered. Okay? No, I did it in college, but you have to have your established university or school would have to allow it. Okay? Now, scientists performing investigations must report only accurate data. Why? Because we rely on it, right? People make their health decisions based on this data. They must allow peers to review their work. That means that you have to let other scientists read what they do to give them feedback to make sure it's correct. And must behave ethically with the people involved in their investigations, which means no fudging data, no lying. Okay? If I were doing, let's say, drug research for Pfizer, and I got a bonus, $1 million bonus if I made a successful drug that didn't have any side effects, and 1 out of 100 people had like bleeding eyes as a result of the drug, and I didn't tell anybody, would I be being ethical there? No. Okay? So you need to make sure you have full disclosure and that other people are able to review your work so that we don't have situations like that. Have situations like that existed in the past? Yes. So why study science? The same critical thinking process that scientists use is a tool that you can use in your everyday life. Observations. We all use our observations, and we think scientifically whether we know it or not. Who in here has had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? I have one right here. It's in my lunch. Okay? It took me, well, maybe not 33 years, because that's how old I am. It probably took me maybe a good year in there where I learned how to make the perfect peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right? I would use my sight, okay, my observations to see how much peanut butter I was putting on, how much jelly I was putting on, right? I would use my taste to see how that tasted and felt, see if it was the right texture. See, you get too much peanut butter, your mouth sticks together, right? Okay? So was I using the scientific thought and all my observations and correcting it each time I changed how I made this? Yes. Okay? Some people would just call that common sense, right? Yes, it is. Okay? And that's what scientific thought is. I call it common sense. Okay? Using your senses, your observations, to improve your life or to make something better. Has anybody ever told you what science is? This is one that dumbfounds me, and I almost forgot to do it with you. What is science? You've had science class since kindergarten, right? What is it? What does it mean? Define it. Study of what? We don't know. No one told you. I know, and it's silly. And I didn't know till I went to college. My anatomy teacher told me. It's the first thing he told us. Told us what science was. I've been taking science class my whole life. Science, simply put, directly translated from Latin, means a way of knowing. Period. End of sentence. A way of knowing. Science is a way of knowing. So everything is really a science, right? Whether it's art, math, biology is obviously a science, but even the things you don't think are science are science. Anything you have a way of knowing about is science, okay? And so when people tell me they suck at science, I'm like, geez, that's just like saying you're not any good at life, because you got to be good at something. You must know something, right? So we all practice science in some way, shape, or form. Now, an understanding of science and biology, obviously, is a way of knowing about life, right? Okay. But an understanding of science can help you take better care of your health, be a wiser consumer, and become a better informed citizen. So this is our goal of all high school students taking required science classes, whether it's biology, chemistry, physical science, physics. Should be our goal, okay? To make a healthier you, to be a smarter consumer so you don't buy like toxic things and eat them, okay? And I'll tell you, in China, they make toxic things, sell them, and people eat them. Okay, there's lead in chewing gum over there. There's lead in chewing gum in China. There's traces of lead in most chewing gum that they have over there. And become a better informed citizen as well. Okay, so if you have a good understanding and know about things, science, okay, are you going to do these things? Be healthier, be a better consumer, and become a better informed citizen? For sure you are. Okay. And the more information that's out there, and the more non-disclosure that's there, and the more open science is, the more we do these things. The healthier, the wiser, and the better informed we are. Now, you can use science to investigate a problem in your community and discover helpful solutions. What is a problem our community has solved using science? I'm sure you can throw a couple out there. Transportation, very good. Public transportation. Water quality, big one, okay? Especially with Dow Chemical and the rivers and streams, and even our water treatment center, our farms, runoff. What else? What else? And what do they do? Oh, spit in the water? Well, I don't know. As long as it's not in the drinking fountain, I think you'd be okay. But I know. Well, spit is the least of my concerns when it comes to rivers and streams. The nitrogen, phosphorus, and sulfur in the fertilizer that runs off from the farm is. The pollution from the Dow Chemical plants from their cooling tubes is for me, especially with the heat, the temperature pollution. You know, there's endless amounts of pollution that are out there. Runoff from the roads, those are things that are really damaging. In your spit, I mean, you got maybe a little bacteria that's already in the water anyway. But if someone were to spit in my drinking water, that would be gross. But, you know, river or stream, probably okay. For me. But for you, not. See, we have different ethics and morals, right? Oh, I know. Yep. But I don't think spit is making the fish mutated. I hear what you're saying, though. Now, by applying scientific thinking to a problem, you can help yourself and improve the world around you, which should be our goal. Okay? Quick summary, and I'll let you guys work on your homework. Okay, scientific thought involves making observations, using evidence to draw a conclusion, being skeptical about ideas, and being open to change when new discoveries are made. Those are the four basic thoughts behind scientific thought, or parts of scientific thought. Science is governed by truths that are valid everywhere in the universe, and we call those universal laws. Doesn't matter where you are, gravity exists. Or does it? But you can still measure it, right? Now, scientific investigations require ethical behavior, so even science is held to ethics, beliefs, morals, rights, and wrongs. And an understanding of science can help you take better care of your health, be a wiser consumer, and become a better informed citizen, which hopefully will make you vote for all of us in a healthier, better way. Okay. I am now going to stop this recording.